Right, it's on.
Okay, yeah, we've got broadcast on, yeah.
Yeah, it's all working.
Okay, there we go. Excellent.
Just sorted it out. So anyway, good luck. I'll shut up now.
So, welcome then to the broadcast for tonight's 2012 Sim Inc. GPVWC Super League race here at Istanbul Park in Turkey. I am Scott Woodwiss. I'm doing commentary and, well, cameras again. Apologies that the broadcast hasn't been up sooner. I had a bit of a glitch in the system, but we're back sorted now. And I can tell you that, with no real surprise, we have another Midnight Motorsport lockout on the front row. And that is to say that the top 10 for qualifying, if I can remember that on screen that we had, I think the top 10 that we have is as follows. Lucas Euler is on pole position, just ahead of Nick Rowland. Dave Carr-Smith is third. Then we've got OJ Clark fourth, Lee Morris fifth, James Shepherd sixth, Ruud Heasterbeek seventh, Lewis Redshaw is eighth, David Junt ninth, and Simon Cattell 10th, I believe. Although I think Pavlovsky's in there somewhere. But I do believe that actually Pavlovsky is the one that's in ninth with David Junt 10th. Though I think Junt's just popped out of the server for the moment. So as we said, welcome to the broadcast. And just seeing here David Junt on. Actually, David Junt's popped to the top of the time. It's 1:27.699 here in the warm-up session. And apologies if I seem a little bit kind of uninterested here. Just certain things going on, including the fact that we still have Midnight dominating the field. So I apologise in advance if tonight's broadcast is a little bit same old, but we'll try and bring you some exciting battles on track if we can find any. You're currently looking at David Junt, as I think we'll take you on a lap of the circuit. I'm just going to quickly have a look and see if we have anyone just about to start a lap, because I'll see if I can take you for a lap. We've got Simon Cattell on a lap. Let's just take him down. Let's quickly just jump with him. So into turn one. Oh, and that hasn't gone well because he's just looped it 360. And he loops it again. So that's quite unfortunate for Simon Cattell. He pops back to the pits. We've got some drivers practicing their starts here. So let's take you through some of the track facts here. It's a 5.3 kilometre circuit, another Herman Tilke designed course, 58 laps counterclockwise in direction, 310 kilometres is the race distance. The circuit features 5 high-speed stretches, 3 slow turns, 1 ideal spot for overtaking, and a top speed of 315 kilometres an hour. It's also a very wide circuit in the fact that it's 21 metres wide, so it's definitely a circuit that's good for side-by-side action. Just cycling through some of the track cameras here to make sure we can bring you some shots of the cars coming through. All looks good to me, so just quickly having a bit of a cycle through to make sure all is in order. We have to adjust that turn 1 camera, I think, so you can actually see it. But we are just waiting then. Next session has been passed. We'll now wait for the cars to head off onto the formation lap. And we prepped for 58 laps then of the Turkish Grand Prix here at Istanbul Park. And as we said, it's no surprise that we have an all Midnight front row once again. And I probably wouldn't put past any of you guys to expect another Midnight 1-2. So really, I think it's going to be, unless something happens to one of the Midnight cars, what will be of interest is what goes on behind and who is going to be the one battling for best of the rest, if you like. Nonetheless, just waiting for Lucas Oil to get onto the grid. And there he goes. Let's run you down then the grid that we have then for today's Turkish Grand Prix, and it is Lucas Euler on pole position. So we've had possibly 1 or 2 grid penalties, because we now have Dave Carl-Smith in second for Green Stripes Racing. Third is Lee Morris then for Drag Racing. Fourth is James Shepherd for Red 5, his second race in his new team. Excellent stuff from him. Fifth place is going to be Ruud Heesterbeek for Nijo Racing. Sixth place will be Lewis Redshaw for Hawkeye Racing. Seventh is Nick Rowland in the second Midnight Motorsport car. Eighth is Pavel Anowski for Norgem Racing. Ninth is going to be OJ Clark in the first of the Red Archers, and rounding out the top 10 is going to be his teammate David Junt from Switzerland. 11th is going to be Tom Parker for Woods Racing. 12th will be Simon Cattell for Kerno Sport. 13th is going to be Keith Story for Drag Racing. 14th will be Mark Stanton in the first of the Constant Racing cars. 15th is Kieran Ryan in the second Woods Racing machine. 17th, 16th is going to be David Stanton in the second Constant car. 17th is Bernard Moodley, the South African, in the second Hawkeye machine. 18th is Ben Warren for Nijo Racing. 19th is Mark Wicks for Kerno Sport. 20th is John McLean in the first of the Synergetic cars. 21st is Wesley Morris in the second Synergetic car. 22nd is Jeff Mead for ST Racing. 23rd is Mark Fuller for ST Racing. And that is your grid. You're just seeing here Lucas Euler. And he's obviously trying to stack the pack, as the pole position driver will do. Try and make sure that no one is waiting on the grid too long, and that everyone gets onto the grid as quickly as possible, so we can get this race underway. So it saves the overheating on the tyres, saves the temperature going from the tyres and from the brakes. I see the drivers are heading now onto the pit straight, and we now pop with Lucas Euler. So he now heads onto the grid then. So it's Lucas Euler on the right, Dave Carl-Smith on the left, and just behind Lee Morris on the right, just behind Lucas Euler. In fourth, you said James Shepherd then. So it's going to be basically, will Nick Rowland be able to get up to second once again? Or unless will anyone be able to stop Lucas Euler? What can the likes of Carl-Smith, what can Morris and Shepherd do? We'll find out in just a few moments' time. The last 2 ST Racing cars make up the grid at the back there. And we're all set then for 58 laps of the Turkish Grand Prix. And the lights are now coming up onto the starting gantry. So watch them now, and before you know, lights go out and away we go. And that's a good start. As you've got a car jumping out then. Euler gets a good start into turn 1. Got a car off in the background already, and through turn 1 they come. And Euler does indeed lead from Carl-Smith, and Rowland's up to third place already. What a start he's put in. And they're now going to come heading up then towards one. It's Euler leading from Dave Carl-Smith in second, and as we said, Morris has a poor start, and look at that, down the inside back, he's been touched by Lewis Redshaw, and really he's big side by side with the Hawkeye Racing car through turns 5 and 6, and they head down the hill now, and it is Euler leading by just about half a second as they flash through, and they will head up now towards turn 8. We've got some shenanigans going on in the background, and here they come then through the treacherous turn 8, on board with Lee Morris. He now tries to chase after James Shepherd as they head down the hill then. And Carl-Smith then is now going to try and close in on the slipstream, but look at these two already starting to pull away from Nick Rowland. Half a second gap between these two, so now we've got rather trying to defend here, trying to look back through the field as we have. Look at what we've got in terms of battles and slipstream. The two Constant Racing cars in a battle of their own. And they will come across the line for the first time, and here they come then as the order as it stands as they head across the line. It is Euler leading from Carl-Smith in second. Nick Rowland's third, Lee Morris is now up to... James Shepherd is now fourth. Lee Morris is fifth, Heesterbeek sixth, then Redshaw seventh, Lowski eighth. David Junt ninth, and OJ Clark rounds out the top 10. And I'm just trying to see if we've got any more battles going on down the field. I'm just trying to keep track of both of these feeds that I have here. A little bit difficult for me to try and keep track of these two, so it's have no retirements on the first lap, which is thankful. Looking at James Shepherd there in the Red 5 car. Good to see Red 5 up there in the top 5 as they swing through turn 8 once again. So that was Anowski running a bit wide there as the two constant cars run ahead of Keith Story there. The rest of the field goes streaming through. Waller's already flashing through turn 11 here, trying to extend the advantage that he has, and he's definitely doing that. Oh, the gap to 1.2 seconds now down towards turn 12. Lee Morrison starting to give chase then already. I think that's just trying to battle for position. Look at this. We've got Redshaw and Heasterbeek. Heasterbeek has just taken 6th, but now Redshaw's back up the inside. Well, that's the fastest lap of the race, and Heasterbeek just sticks it round the outside. And a wonderful overtaking move, so that is the Dutchman into 6th place, but Redshaw has a bit of a look into turn 1. Also just behind that was Anowski having a look on the inside of David Junt. So OJ Clark's dropped the way back down to 10th place, so that was a poor start from him. But nevertheless, he is pushing hard, as is Lewis Redshaw, you see here. On board with OJ Clark here, trying to look at the back of Pavel Anowski's Nordjern as they head down towards turn 7 again. Amazing, Nick Rowland is actually off the pace a little bit here. You can see him in 3rd place, but he's now dropped way back down to the field. So I think now we've got a battle going on between James Shepherd and Lee Morris here. These two are very close together. In fact, Lee Morris may have a bit of a tow here. And the rear wing of James Shepherd's car. Morris is getting ever closer. The Drake's one of the best cars in the straight line at the moment. And you can see that because Morris is getting a slight tow. He just has a bit of a look to the inside. But he's too far back to make lunge. Well, that said, Morris is closing up under braking here. And look at that, really close under braking here. Following another fast lap of the race here in the corner, 1:24.498. Battle going on for 8th here. That's between the two Red Archers. This should be interesting. Into team rivalry. Junt has it. Clark wants it. And Clark up the inside. And Clark takes the place. So I wonder possibly that was a bit of team strategy there to allow Clark to come back up through the field. But now, Junt has to contend with a rather feisty Pavel Anowski, and also Simon Cattell's in there as well. And that's looking very risky indeed. In fact, I think Junt did very well not to even hit the back of his teammate there, and he's under immense pressure at the moment from Anowski and Cattell as he looks from the rear wing of David Junt's Red Archer. And locks his inside wheel a bit through turn 7, but he's back on the power again, and they will speed through turn 10 as we now look on board from Pawlowski's car. Pawlowski goes a little bit wide over the curve through turn 8. And not really as wide as he has been in a couple of laps, right to the track. And again, just looking at that inside wheel, that may give Pawlowski the run onto the straight. And he has got a fantastic tow then through turn 11. Just really going defensive, but he may be a bit helpless here if Pawlowski's got a better car on the straight line. He looks to the outside. And switching now to the TV camera here, Pawlowski try and move around the outside, he outbrakes him, and what a fantastic pass that was. So we now have, that's Pawlowski, I believe, up into 10th place, I believe. Or is that 9th? That may even be 9th, apologies for that. Yes, it is 9th, so he is up there now. And all is now starting to pull away a little bit now, up at the front. This battle may still be raging, as now we've got OJ Clark has already just caught Lewis Redshaw in the foreground there. Again, these Red Archers seem to be quite keen on locking their front wheels a bit and flat spotting the tyres. That's not going to do the wear any good. Lost got quite a big twitch out of turn 6. Now he's got jumped back on his tail again. We've just got to contend with. Oh, look at that on the inside. That was Simon Cattell taking advantage. I think Cattell's actually done it. In fact, I think. And he has. So that is now Cattell up to 10. But Jump may want that back. He's going to go side by side down towards turn 9. And hard on the brakes, he's going to get it. Cattell had the better line. And the Kono Sport Driver is up now into the top 10. He's into the points. Excellent stuff from him. But it's not over yet because Johnson's going to go side by side with him. Who's got the better straight line speed? It's said to be the Red Archer. And down on the inside is Junt going to hold it, or is it going to be now Cattell to hold it? Cattell to hold the position, and Junt's got back past again. The Junt is back into the points again. As I think we now have got a battle, I think, going on between the two cars in front. We're going to quickly jump to the battle for 7th here, because I think these two are pretty close together. We've got Redshaw and Clark is actually getting very close indeed. So while one Red Archer is defending, the other one is attacking. And Clark, you can see how much pressure he's putting Redshaw behind him, and looks like Vinod Moody, meanwhile, in the second Hawkeye car, has just retired. So that's rather unfortunate. They're one car down already, and now this could be another a position down already for Redshaw, as he just seems to leave the door open for OJ Clark there. And Clark is up to 7th. Now going to try and catch Ruud Heesterbeek. I think he's about 2 or 3 seconds up the road. Looking at the rear wing of OJ Clark's car here, you see the Red Archer is one of the better cars on a straight line. You can see that there. He's pulling away from actually Redshaw, even though Lewis is in the tow. Is that just behind? Is that Malowski under pressure? I think it is. I'm going to quickly jump to this one because I think Malowski's got past. He's been passed rather by David Junt. So that's quite interesting. He's managed to get himself through. And quickly go a replay of that, and look at that. It was down into turn 12. He went side by side with Malowski, just clean drove around the outside at turn 13, and was far enough in front to hold it through the last corner. Good drive by the Swiss driver there. I'm going to see back up at the front if we've got any battles. I think possibly Lee Morris has got past James Shepherd. Although I was going to quickly go to a replay there because I was going to try and see if we could see how he got past. But still, Morris is now under pressure now from the Australian. They sweep through turns 9 and 10. And I think definitely the Drake is a better car in a straight line. But that said, Shepherd's got a fantastic run on him through turn 11. And where will he go? How defensive is Morris prepared to go? You can see Shepherd weaving this way and that behind. Has a little look to the inside and then decides to think better of it and try and do the switchback. And Morris then is up to 4th, but he's now going to try and contend with the fact that he's now already 10 seconds behind the leader. And well, that was a bit interesting. Morris got a bit of a twitch on there. Even that he was weaving down towards turn 1. And Shepherd getting incredibly close, and he wants that 4th position back, doesn't he? He's absolutely close. A bit of lag on the screen there, just as Morris darted to the right. I think we've still got a battle going on here between the cars back in 8th, 9th and 10th. So Morris then is the one that's under pressure at the moment. We're going to quickly go on board with Morris. We're going to look back at the rear wing and back at James Shepherd. Look how close he gets. Under braking for turn 7. How close will he get through turn 8? But of course, Shepherd will be in Morris's dirty air. So he won't get as much aerodynamic grip as Morris is getting right now. Then Morris is a little bit over the curb for the 3rd apex of turn 8. It's all down to what kind of exit Shepherd can get through turns 9 and 10 once again, as to what kind of tow he'll get. And that's a great tow he's got now a 2nd time around. And is he going to try it again? He's looking once more. I think he backed up a little bit as they bottomed out through the middle of turn 11. And will Shepherd try it down the inside for all 12? He brakes a little bit later, but isn't quite far enough alongside. And that's to make do with shoving the rear wing underneath the rear end of, shoving the front wing of his Red 5 under the rear wing of the Morris Drag racing car. And Morris seems to have better traction out of the slower corners, it seems. And he holds a very, very slim 0.3 of a second gap, but it's looking a lot closer through turns 1 and 2. I can tell you that now. And the gap now is up to 11.9 seconds, so really, it seems to be that this race is all sewn up. Well, that said, Dave Carl-Smith is only 2.9 seconds behind, so that could be an interesting battle, strategy-wise. It's actually 12.3 seconds, actually, because the gap has to Lee Morris. No, I tell a lie, no, it is actually 11.9. You can see that Shepherd trying to go down the inside towards turn 5, and is the contact. I think Shepherd may have banged wheels with Morris, but I think he had to back out of it, save himself getting a penalty. But Shepherd getting very ambitious, very restless behind Morris now. And they both go extremely wide, but Shepherd's got another brilliant toe. He's managed to keep the aerodynamic grip, and I'm not quite sure what Morris is doing there. He's weaving again down towards turn 9. Now, is that to shake the toe, or is that to block? I'm not quite sure what he's doing there, but if he is blocking, that's more than one move. I think the stewards will want to word with him about that. Nevertheless, he holds 4th place for now. Sure, James Shepherd's got something to say about that as well. Unless Morris is trying to find some more heat in these tyres, which if he is, I'm quite surprised if he is. No real position changes behind, so this seems to be the closest battle on track at the moment. Like you're looking at for 3rd place. I think actually, I think Dave Carl-Smith, has he gone to the pit? No, he hasn't gone to the pits. That's just the timing screen on the side. He's a little bit messed up pit. We are up to date, but still Shepherd is still pressuring Morris here. Morris is a very defensive driver. He's not going to give it up too easy. He's left the door wide open down towards turn 7, and Shepherd gets to look up the inside, and he does take 4th place for now. But what kind of exit is Morris going to get up the hill? Ferrari versus Mercedes in terms of engine power, and Shepherd's got back past him, and I think really that was due to Morris leaving a huge gap down towards turn 7. Shepherd would have been stupid not to take that, and of course he did. And now what kind of a response is Morris going to have then? Now we know his drag racing car is good in a straight line, but now as they dip down through the middle of turn 11, sparks protruding from the rear of the car. Just how good in a straight line is it? Well, he's closed up a little bit down towards turn 12. And again through this final complex. Closing a bit more. And really he's to beat's only just there in the background a couple of seconds, but it looks like the gap is fairly static between this battle here. And I think we've got another battle going on here. We've had another car drop down. I'm trying to make heads or tails of what's going on here. We haven't had anyone stop yet, I don't think. Top 10 is still as it was, although that said, Clark and David Junt are fairly close to our 7th and 8th now. In fact, I'll quickly run you down through the top 10 as it stands. So as we see, Lucas Euler, no real surprise, but he is leading again for Midnight Motorsport. 2nd is Dave Carl-Smith for Green Stripes Racing. 3rd is Nick Rowland for Midnight Motorsport. He's actually 6 seconds behind his teammate, but still soldiering on. Doesn't quite have the pace of Dave Carl-Smith at the moment. He's only about 3.3 seconds behind him, but still pushing hard. 4th, as we said, James Shepherd. Now just starting to pull away from Lee Morris in 5th after their short battle. 6th at the moment is Release to Beat, just in the background, Venetia Racing. 7th is OJ Clark for Red Archer. His teammate David Junt runs in 8th. And then 9th just behind him is Lewis Redshaw. And now the sole Hawkeye Racing car, because we have lost Vinod Moodley early on. And then rounding out the top 10 is Pavlovsky, although for how much longer, because he has got Simon Cattell just behind him there in 11th place. So that's your top 10 as we've now completed. We're on lap 11 now, lap 12 rather, of 58 laps here of the 2012 Sim Inc. GPVWC Super League Turkish Grand Prix Istanbul Park. If you are watching, thank you very much for tuning in. And we'll try and bring as much action as we can. But when you have someone like Lucas Oil leading the pack, it's not too easy to find that. You have to look for action elsewhere rather than at the front. I think we have someone in the pits, I think. As your... My screen's actually frozen on my broadcast screen, so whether that's a problem or... I don't quite know. In fact, no, it's going again, I think. Hold on. If your screen's currently frozen, apologies for that, but try and keep you updated as best I can from what I'm seeing on the screen. There we go, should have caught up now, so there we go, that's better. Back off the 10th then, as you got on screen. And I wonder what... Catel's a little bit closer than he was last time round. We'll go to the rear wing of Pavlovski's car. This has been the best view we can get. And it's all about how much Catel can close in on the slipstream. But at the moment, the answer is not too much. In fact, he's not even in the slipstream at the moment. He's just about trying to pull away here. Catel doing everything he can to put Losky under pressure. He may possibly come out to the first round of stops, hopefully, in the next few laps. As Catel gets ever closer, he's only about 1/10.5 behind him there. He went across the line. Losky with a big twitch through turn 1. And that's going to allow Catel to get himself on the inside for turn 2, but the outside for turn 3. But has he got the grip to sweep it around the outside? And the answer is yes, he has. Great stuff from Catel. And he goes to 10th. How much longer? We'll have to wait and see. But there we go. 10th place now belongs to Simon Catel. In the background there is Keith Story in the second drag racing machine. Have a quick look through some of the drivers here. And there's Lucas Euler leading as usual. And the two Woods cars are set to go into combat between Kieran Ryan and Tom Parker. I wonder if there's going to be any team orders here, or whether they've just been let off the leash and say, off you go, boys. We'll find out in a second, because Ryan's currently ahead, but is he going to be so obliging to let Parker through? Answer is I don't think so. I'm going to go side by side. I hope we don't get a situation like we had with Red Bull 2 years ago. And Parker's actually pissing this lap. He's actually getting very aggressive down the inside of Kieran here. And Kieran's gone very wide. He's outbraked himself, and that's allowed Parker through. Oh, but they're very close. And Parker doesn't pit this lap, actually. He carries on. So if he had his pit lights on, maybe he decided to get himself track position and decided to battle with his teammate. But why he wants to do that this early on, I'm not quite sure. But maybe Parker is pitting next time around if he has his pit light on. And James Shepherd, you can see, is starting to pull away from Lee Morris there in fifth place. Starting to spread out already again. Easterbeek is in 6th. There's OJ Clark in 7th, just ahead of his teammates David Junto. That said, Lewis Redshaw wants that 8th place fairly soon, I think. He's just about closing in. I think this race is going to be all about what's going on behind the leaders rather than who's actually leading, because at the moment there's been no real challenge. Dave Cosmic is only 3.5 seconds behind Lucas Euler, but Euler, I think, is really showing signs that he has with this one in the bag. However, he is only lap 15. We've still got a long way to go. Is that synergetic without a front wing I see there? That may have been. Either that or just it's the black colour of the front wing that's mistaken. I think he has got a front wing. Just it's the colour of the synergetic front wing, and Ruud Easterbeek is pitting. And there he is. And he's away. And that would suggest that he's on a 3-slot strategy if he's pitting this early. And he rejoined just behind Pavlovsky, ahead of Keith Story, so that's worked out not too bad for Easterbeek there. Enter the pit 7th, rejoins 10th. He's down by 3 places, so he's definitely going to have a chance to get up there and score some points. He's really monster at the back of Pavlovsky's car on his cold tyres nonetheless, but I think he's just hanging back until he gets a bit more temperature in them, although Pavlovsky going very wide there. Oh no, and that's a big spin for Pavlovsky. He gets it back going again. We'll have a look at that on the replay. If you look here, it looks like just Pavlovsky trying to get the power down. His tyres may be quite wide, although looking at that, it looks like he just about caught his rear wheel on the edge of the curve. Yes, he did. And look at that, both Easterbeek and Keith Story did very well to avoid him there, and he lost another place there too. One of the other cars there. Lee Morris is in. Lucas Euler is in the pits, as is Lee Morris. Look at that, the two midnight cars are in. There's actually a replay there because had a few cars in. So Euler's pitted, and so is Carl Smith, and so is Nick Rowland, and so is Lee Morris. James Shepherd's the only one that hasn't. In fact, look at that. Euler was so far ahead at his first stop that he's been able to maintain the lead ahead of James Shepherd. I'm trying to keep track of these as best we can. Keith Storage just pitted from what was 11th, and he rejoins 11th, so that's not too bad for him. That's worked out okay. He's come out ahead of Kieran Ryan, and I think Tom Parker also is now set to combat with his teammate again. I'm pretty sure James Shepherd will have to pit in this next lap or two. And the answer is he doesn't pit this time round. Third place is still Dave Carl Smith now, although that's net second place. And Nick Rowland currently sits fourth. Just ahead of OJ Clark. Sixth is now Lee Morris. Morris is exactly 20 seconds behind Shepherd now. Or there or thereabouts, so he's going to have to try and make this early stint on the second set of his second set of tyres now work as best he can. Suggestions think that both OJ and James look as if they're going to go on a two-stop strategy. They're going to stop one time less, which means that obviously they're going to have to try and make their tyres work a bit better, which possibly could explain the reason why James Shepherd was so eager to get past Morris, so he could get some clear space and start to look after his tyres a bit more and try and get a bit of an advantage on the cars around him. And we've got someone else in the pits, so I think it is actually Pavel. We've got someone else in the pits, I'm pretty sure we have. I think Mark Fuller and Ben Warren are in the pits. We're going to battle for the position in that one. Fuller and Warren are both in the pits. And he's going to get the quickest stop. They're both off the jacks. And Warren's beasting. Warren gets a better stop. And the Nijo Racing team have managed to get him out ahead of Mark Fuller. The great stuff by that team there. Battle here going on for 13th place between Parker and Lofsky. Lofsky's got himself right tucked under the rear wing of Parker's car. And Lofsky goes down the inside and he takes 13th place then. Although Parker's not done with that, he's trying to fight back here. And he may try and get himself on the inside towards turn 3. He's back in the toe of Van Orgen. And now Lofsky finds himself in a Woods Racing sandwich, as he has Tom Parker just behind, Kieran Ryan in front, so you have to be quite careful with that one. Wallace, it's another fastest lap of the race there, 1:24.447 on this set of tyres that he has. These two will battle away. Apart from that battle on track, I can't really see very many other battles going out on track, unfortunately, so apologies that we can't really bring you anything that's a little bit more exciting. Although that said, interestingly enough, pushed to third place because Dave Carl Smith on his fresher tyres is now starting to slowly close in on the two-stopping James Shepherd. So I wonder if this strategy is going to work out at all overall. Or that said, Morris has actually fallen behind Shepherd by quite a bit. He's now fallen back down to, I think, roughly, let's have a look. Shepherd is 4 seconds behind, so the gap's actually now about 19 seconds. So the gap's been pretty static on this strategy, and the tyres do last fairly well, apart from the right front here, because the right front does wear very quickly because it is an anti-clockwise circuit, especially if you turn 8. You have to be very careful on the wear through that corner. But Carl Smith has a good line at the moment. As Euler sets about building his lead up all over again. Wonder how much Carl Smith can close in here. He's done so already. He's closing now to about 4/10 of a second. And Shepherd did lock his inside wheel through turn 4. Now he turns 5 and 6. Heading through turn 7 again. The gap is now roughly about 6/10 of a second. So Shepherd's holding on, despite being on a different strategy. He's holding on nonetheless. But Carl Smith with the better, you can see the better grip he has through turn 8. Apparently James and OJ are going to pit on this lap. We're expecting them to be in on this lap. So Shepherd then has only got a few more corners to hold off Carl Smith, although Carl Smith will obviously take its second place back once he pits. And what will be interesting to find out is exactly whereabouts will Shepherd come out in relation to Lee Morris, because that was the guy who was battling for 4th, and Shepherd does indeed pit. He's currently in. I'm going to keep an eye on exactly what's going on here. So, Shepherd pits then. OJ Clark is in as well, as we expected. So Lee Morris is coming down the pit straight now. He's going to overtake them both. So a great couple of outlaps then from Lee Morris has caused him to leapfrog ahead. And also, I think that's also allowed. Is that Ruud Heasterbeek got past as well? And that's one of the ST Racing cars, I think, as well, that's gone through. Quickly looking back, and Shepherd is back out in 5th, but he's only ahead about a couple of seconds up the road ahead of Heasterbeek, as OJ Clark is rejoining from 7th, and he will join just a handful of seconds ahead of his teammate David Jones. So that's how the first round of stops has shaken out for this 2, and we'll give you the top 10 as it currently stands at the moment. And it currently stands thus. You have Lucas Euler, as you would expect, out in front once again. Second place at the moment is Dave Carl Smith, doing very well for Green Stripes Racing to split the 2 midnights, as Nick Rowland does currently run in 3rd place. Not quite in the pace of his teammate, and that or Dave Carl Smith for that matter, but still soldiering on, trying to find as much pace as he can out of his midnight car. 4th now is Lee Morris, as he leapfrogged James Shepherd through the stops. He's their best of the rest so far, unless one of the top 3 has a mistake. As we said, 5th is James Shepherd, who you've seen has just pitted for Red 5. 6th currently is Ruud Heasterbeek, not too far behind the Australian there. Dutchman soldering on, Indonesia racing car. 7th now is OJ Clark, just ahead now of David Juntz, who's now going to contend with Lewis Redshaw once again in 9th. And Simon Cattell is now just lapping one of the ST Racing cars now for 10th place. So that said, they're going very dangerous side by side through turn 11 there. Also lap one of the Synergetic cars as well as they head down towards turn 12. And he does finally relinquish the place. And I'm just going to quickly have a look through who else we have on track, because I'm struggling to find any more battles on track myself. Plus, with it being myself and just myself in the commentary box, it's rather hard to try and find topics to talk about, really, to be honest. But nevertheless, I'll try and endeavour and see what we can find. Got a battle going on here then for 12th place between Milovski and the 2 Woods Racing cars. Looks like Milovski has now got through the stops, has got past Tom Parker, and Kira Ryan's now dropped back now to 14th. Interesting battle going on here. On board with Parker, looking at the back end of Losky's car. Losky ran wide through turn 8. Parker's got a good toe down towards turn 9. Will he dive bomb down towards turn 9? No, he won't. He sticks behind him, holds his line, and runs through turns 9 and 10. Now up towards turn 11 then. Holding on the slipstream. He's going to try and pass the lap car ahead as well. That can play a factor. Losky will get a toe off him. Parker not so much off Losky. But again, it's... Oh, and that's been very, very risky. And the synergetic there on the right had to really dart out of the way and go wide. But Losky holding on just about ahead of the two Woods racing cars. Keith Story and Simon Teller just up the road in 10th and 11th respectively. And it's a rather, if I'm honest, there's one of the SC racing cars popping off the track. Probably went off on a bit of an excursion himself. And he's now found the track once again, so he's now back on the road. So we're on to now, this is now lap number 24 of this, well, to be honest, rather dull Super League Turkish Grand Prix, if I'm honest. Because I'd rather tell you that it's dull rather than tell you otherwise and tell you it's been fantastic, because in all truth, it really hasn't, to be honest. That said, now we've got Parker attacking Losky. Through turn 11, he's got a good toe. Sparks flying for the undertrays of both cars as they head down towards turn 12. And Parker trying to get the outside lap, we can try and do the switch back for this last sequence of corners. Keystar is only just about a couple of seconds up the road. They just flashed you the shot as you just saw there. So he's not too far ahead, but if these two keep dueling amongst each other, that'll just allow Story to gain a bit more of an advantage and start to pull away a bit more. But there aren't actually any battles going on apart from this battle going on for 12, to be honest. Parker's gone quite wide through turn 4 and then turns 5 and 6. And everyone has now been lapped now up to David Stanton. Just looking at on my screen here, David Stanton has literally just been lapped by leader Lucas Euler. So I did in some cases fear that the race development for Midnight and some of these teams around them, or compared to some of these teams around them, would have made the results a bit too predictable. In some cases it's kind of becoming true a little bit here, if I'm being honest. Because Euler once again is just running away with his lead and no one seems to be able to touch him. Not even his own teammates at the moment, so again, apologies if it isn't as exciting as previous Super League races, or if it wasn't as exciting as you were expecting. But, well, there is your race leader, and he's currently leading by 6.6 seconds and extending it all the time, so... And there's now there really is no one remotely that close to each other. In fact, now, Parker's dropped away a little bit from Losky, so... In fact, we just see that Euler is now coming up to lap one of the synergetic cars. Now that would be, I'm guessing it's probably going to be, who's it possibly trying to lap at? That looks like it's one of the, possibly I think that must be Wesley Morris, because John McClane is out of this race. As is Vinod Moodley. Moodley retired back on lap 4. Lap 16 was the lap that John McClane decided to call it a day. Wesley Morris has just been lapped for the second time. He's the first car to go 2 laps down in this race. Here is Nick Rowland in 3rd place. Bit surprised he hasn't been too much near the pace of his teammate. Not being able to match the pace of Dave Carl-Smith here currently in 2nd place, but he's still plugging along for Green Stripes Racing. Interesting to see how the teams like Green Stripes Racing and Red Fire, they started the season in a fairly below average way, if I'm honest. And they've now, with the likes of James Shepherd taking over for Red 5 and bringing in himself and Florian Strauss and Carl Smith. Oh, that was, just to say that, Carl Smith getting himself very, very twitchy on the exit of turn 9, almost dropped it, but managed to, with lightning reflexes, managed to catch the back end of the car and managed to hold on to second place and almost trip up that Constant Racing car he was lapping as well. So good skill there from Carl Smith, but the commentators curse on him at all. But as I was saying, Carl Smith coming into place team owner Christoph Lichtenstein and come back to the Super League, and since then he's done exceptionally well to get this car regularly up there in the top 5, if you like, and challenging the podiums and coming regularly second and third. So definitely putting himself in contention to be best of the rest. But that said, really, that title is being held really by Nick Rowland as Carl Smith goes past. Looks like that is also Wesley Morris. He's lapping as well for the second time. And we've got Lee Morris still in 4th place. Still about 8 seconds ahead of Shepherd, so if I'm honest, there really is nothing else going out on track, if I'm honest, looking through the field. Again, the battle that's remotely even close is between Lenoski and Parker. I may as well drag you back to that one. And even in that case, Lenoski's not pulling away from Parker that much, but he's still there. And Jeff Mead is now fallen 2 laps behind, so next target I'm guessing for Euler will be Mark Fuller in the second ST, in the leading ST racing car. So whilst we have a rather uneventful break in the broadcast, just a quick shout out to our sponsors, of course, to our main title sponsor Simink, and of course to simrace.tv, of course, for allowing us to broadcast this race. And of course we've got SimSync for actually providing the mod to all the drivers, so thank you to those. And also to Live Racers who provide our live timing. And of course the other sponsors that we have, such as for GPVWC, of course for Formula Challenge we have Alternate Networks, so Shoot First for, I believe we have Shoot First for the Master Series as well, so thank you to all of them for supporting the series and helping us out in any way you can. Now this is interesting. You see there Losky, he's starting to not only pull away a bit from Parker, he's starting to slowly reel in Keith Story. The gap's now at a second. And just kind of look through my broadcast screen here to see if there's any more battles going on, but there really isn't. The top 10 are all fairly spread out amongst each other, no one really remotely close. Each story, of course, is being closed in on by Lenoski, and he's pulling away from Parker. Kieran Ryan's a few seconds back from him. He's just been lapped by race leader Lucas Euler. David Stanton just ahead of Mark Stanton in 15th and 16th. And then we've got also, just looking down to the field very quickly, we've got Mark Wicks and then Ben Warren. Mark Fuller, I think she's been lapped by Lewis Redshaw. I'm looking on my screen here. And also Jeff Mead and Wesley Morris. That's 21 cars still running out of the 23 that started. And pretty looking, there's a duel going on at the moment between Story and Losky. Losky got a bit of pace on these tyres that he's got, and still can't quite get past him. Now down the straight again, gap is now just under half a second. And Losky, bit of a twitch through turn 1. But Story still holding on. But there's Lucas Orla once again. And there's nothing really you can say about him apart from the fact that he's once again dominating the field. And no one is really able to hold a candle to him, which in some ways is a good thing, in some ways is not so good, especially for entertainment factors. But can't deny that Euler is a fantastic driver, and Midnight have built a fantastic car, and he's squeezing out the maximum potential. Still second place is Dave Carr-Smith. Still third is Nick Rowland. Lee Morris still holds on to fourth. James Shepherd fifth. OJ Clark still running sixth, ahead of we've had Easterbeek and is that Simon Cattell? Actually, might be Mark Wicks actually. So Easterbeek's pitted for the second time, and Lucas is now pitting. So we have our race leader into the pits for the second time. He is now. Looks like it's another car on the pits in front of him as well. And Carl-Smith has now carried on, and he will continue on. There's now Nick Rowland is also pitting, and also so is Lee Morris. So waiting for Rowland will now hit his pit box. And off he goes, and just as he exits, that's one of the Constant Racing cars in. And in comes Morris as we predicted. Morris in for his second stop. And Shepherd now takes over fourth. Morris is now fifth. And through he goes. In fact, look at that. OJ Clark's got through as well. So OJ Clark takes fifth, but of course Clark and Shepherd are going to be stopping one time less. So really, if Morris can get ahead of Clark, it's not really worked out for the Red Archer driver. And certainly on these new but cold tyres, Morris is starting to close in. Morris getting ever closer. Oh, it's probably going to be a question of when rather than if he's going to retake. Fifth place, he's very, very close to turns 9 and 10. He'll have the slipstream. I'm pretty sure he will breeze past Clark in the second. Goes round the outside, he's trying to look for a way through, ducks back underneath, then looks to the inside, and simply outbrakes Clark into fifth again. So, really, in terms of moving up through the field, with all due respect, Clark's strategy really hasn't worked out because he's now just been passed by one of the cars he's trying to beat in the stops. We've got one of the synergetic cars, Wesley Morris, is in the pits. So we're now on lap 32 of 58 of this was rather uneventful Turkish Grand Prix, and once again we'll take you down through the top 10. And still leading up at the front is Lucas Euler for Midnight Motorsport. Dominant as ever. Second place is Dave Carr-Smith trying to lap one of the Woods Racing cars down towards turn 12. Got sweeps right around the outside and promptly almost outbrakes himself, but manages to anchor it back up once again. Look at that, another fastest lap from Euler, 1:24.382 to further extend his lead. Third place, Nick Rowland in the second Midnight Motorsport car. Fourth is going to be James Shepherd for Red 5 Racing. In fifth place now, as we said, Lee Morris, who has now passed and is rapidly pulling away now from OJ Clark in sixth, who is yet to make his second and final stop. Seventh is Ruud Easterbeek for Nijo Racing. Eighth is David Johnson for the second Red Archer machine. Ninth is Lewis Redshaw in the Soul Hawker Racing car after Vinod Moodley retired on lap 4. And currently rounding out the top 10 is Simon Cattell He's about to be, looks like, lapped, it looks like, by Lucas Euler. So that's everyone lapped up to 10th place. In just a second. We'll stay with this one as well. Now easily glides past Cattell, leaving plenty of room. And there goes Euler to put a lap down on Cattell. Right, just through just over half distance then. Everybody, Euler has lapped pretty much half the field. So next is up to be lapped will be Lewis Redshaw. And Euler is now just coming onto the pit straight, so it'll be a couple of laps before he gets past him, as I think you just see him in the foreground there. So we now wait then for what will be the leaders, the third round of pit stops. So the battle here then between Keith Story and Pavel Lenoski. These two dueling away. Lenoski looks to the outside. Very defensive. Look at that, gives him a bit of a nudge as well. And Lenoski has to back out of it as he really backs out of it, and also in the process, I see it as a result that he had to let through Dave Carl Smith, who's now going to try and negotiate his way past Story. He does so now, and also that's now allowing Lenoski to get right on the back of Story again as Story lifts off to allow the Green Stripes racing driver through. And now Lenoski will have the toe down towards turn 12. He goes through turn them flat, but Story's got the toe off the Green Stripes car in front of him that's just lapped him. He's very careful, he's braking, but look at that, he locks the inside brake as he tries to almost think about and move back up to arm up himself, which probably would have been a bit unwise, but nonetheless. Lenoski, one of the few drivers in the league, but probably the only drivers in the league as a whole, GPWC, he actually uses a pad to race. I believe he uses a Logitech pad, which is shaped like an Xbox 360 controller. So he's doing impressively well for 12th place at the moment, battling with Keith Story, who I do know actually races with a wheel, as do the majority of pretty much everyone apart from Lenoski races with a wheel. And various types, I think it's mainly Logitech everyone uses, either a G25 or a G27 or a Driving Force GT. I think one of whose drivers do use a Thrustmaster. Of course, know that Ben Warren, we'll quickly switch with him. Ben Warren is currently 18th. Actually, we'll stay with this battle just in case. But Ben Warren actually racing in order on a very special wheel called a Rosso F1 wheel. Use a G25 or G27 base, and that is set up like an F1 wheel, but his is fitted with special paddles for accelerator and brake due to his due to health reasons for his needs, and bit of a sensitive subject that, so I won't go any further on that. Won't risk myself getting in trouble. So, but to say he's one that requires hand controls on the steering wheel to accelerate and brake, and we'll go no further than that just to not put myself at risk, because I'd rather not offend anyone. So let's just carry on from that. Lenoski is currently still 12th, still trying to chase after Keith Story. And again, what has been, again, to be honest, brutally honest, a rather uneventful and in some ways unexciting Turkish Grand Prix. Nothing really much in terms of action. Again, as we said, the field is fairly spread out. No one really that near to each other, apart from this battle you're seeing on screen here. Still on board with Lenoski, chasing after Keith Story. Lenoski then not getting as much in terms of drive. Look at that, he's got a great drive through turn 8. Flicks to the inside, down towards turn 9. Will he outbrake the British driver into turn 9? And the answer is yes, he does. And he's up to 11th. A great move then from Lenoski. Let's get a quick replay of that. He flicked to the inside. And up the inside then. And he's still battling away down towards turn 12. Lenoski holds on. And that's now allowed the Woods racing car behind of Tom Parker to close in. This could be a 3-way battle. Oh, Lenoski with a big twitch out of the last corner. And that's allowed Story to get back through again. And look behind, because look also who's lurking in the background and has just literally just lapped Kieran Wright. And I do believe that's, yes, it is Nick Rowland. So Nick Rowland coming through to put his lap on the two cars in front of him. And Euler has lapped everyone now up to 9th place. So he's lapped everyone up to Lewis Redshaw. Next to lap is David Junt. And meanwhile, Lenoski and Story still battling, but Lenoski almost lost his front wing on the rear wing, on the back of the Drake racing car. And Tom Parker will watch with interest and see exactly what's happening. Lenoski trying to go around the outside of Story on that way. It's a better run out of turn 7. They will go side by side as Story's got back past again due to that mistake out the final corner. And it's all over again. Lenoski in the toe of Story, flicks to the inside, but again isn't far enough on alongside to take the position back. Now through turns 9 and 10. And look at Parker with a fantastic drive through turns 9 and 10. He's alongside Lenoski, but Lenoski has the toe on Keith Story side by side through turn 11, almost touching their sparks, flying everywhere as the three cars bottom out on the bottom of turn 11, down towards turn 12, and Lenoski dive bomb down the inside of Story. And that breaks himself, and look at Parker up the inside of Story. Basically going to take two cars in one move. He does, almost. Oh, with a slight knock left from Lenoski, but Parker's done it. What a magnificent move that was. To get past two cars in the shape of one move. We're going to get a replay of that because that was fantastic. Let's go down to go back to quickly rewind that. Because we're going to look at that move from Tom Parker's perspective. And coming down towards the braking area, he goes very wide, takes the racing line, watches these two battle ahead, takes Story up the inside, and then holds the inside line around turn 13, has the perfect setup for 14, and he carries on in the lead. And Lenoski is, I need to see where Lenoski's gone, because I think he's just dropped back a bit because he's had to let Nick Rowland go past. So Parker is now up to 11. He's just outside the points at the moment. As meanwhile, David Shunt has now been lapped. So next up is Ruud Heasterbeek. So really, Euler can do no wrong because now Euler has a 19-second gap over the 10-second gap, excuse me, over Dave Carl Smith. So obviously, with these two having to pit again, the story then is now he's going to have to let he's let Nick Rowland through. Now it's actually Tom Parker will have to do that now. He put a lap to be lapped now by Nick Rowland, and he does move over to let the Englishman through, his fellow Englishman through. And now it's going to be Story on the back of Parker, and this will be for 11th place as Story locks up again. Lenoski gets back onto the rear wing of Keith once more. And now Story once again is having to defend from Pavel Lenoski. Third time in a row we've had to do this. Or third time in 4 laps rather, and again Lenoski in the toe. Story defends. Story goes probably a bit too deep through turns 9 and 10, but he gathers it back up, and now that's Parker lapping Ben Warren, I believe. And now Story's going to try and grab a toe off Warren. Tries to move out of the way. He does now. Lenoski dive bombing up the inside down towards turn 12. And what a move that was. Lenoski just sent it straight up the inside, stood on everything, and reclaims 12th place again from Keith Story. So that's the third time in 4 laps that Keith Story has been passed by Pavel Lenoski. So George Story will not be particularly impressed by that, but he will do his best to try and grab the position back again. Look at that, he's got a fantastic run through turns 1 and 2. He may try to get up the inside towards turn 3. Has he got the power? Question is not quite. But can he pressure Lenoski into another mistake like he did back at a couple of laps ago at the final corner, where he's close enough to try and force it? But if he just sticks there, he may also lose the front end grip, and oh, big twitch through there. That's not going to do his chances any favours. And he's lost a couple of car lengths, but I'm sure he'll try and close up again. Top three very spread out, as is 4th place, 5th place. Look at that, Morris is 16 seconds back to James Shepherd. OJ Clark has just pitted again. He's back out. That was his second stop, so we're going to expect, I presume, James Shepherd will be in this lap, I would imagine. He's now got, that looks like, is that Kieran Ryan? I think it is, Kieran Ryan. Although Ryan, they're trying to go very wide around the outside of Ben Warren there. Now, I would expect that Joe Shepherd to peel off now into the pits to make his stop. And yes, he does. So he's into the pits now. So this will be James's second and last stop. Now remember, he actually pitted one. He's on a different strategy to everyone else, and that helped him grab himself a 3rd place. And that was also helped by the mishap which Dave Carr-Smith had about halfway through the race. And that was particularly after his second stop in Korea. And that allowed James Shepherd to get himself. And there goes Morris. Then he now moves back up to 4th. But Morris will have to stop again. So effectively, that's worked out just fine for Shepherd, because he will take back 4th place from Morris when he and the leading trio stop again. They've got 18 or so laps to go. I'm just looking at my screen here to make sure and see if it's going to pit anytime soon. Answer is not quite. He carries on. And looking back, Carl-Smith is now just coming down through turn 12. Went a bit wide, but is he going to pit this time? No, he carries on as well. Roland is 14 seconds back on Carl-Smith. Roland is struggling this afternoon in today's race. And again, now everyone up to OJ Clark has now been lapped. In fact, I think OJ Clark, I think he's about a few seconds up the road from Orla, so he's safe for now. But we've got more drivers in the pits. Not quite, because we've still got a few more laps to go. 17 laps to go then. As you're now looking at Lee Morris on the track. Up the inside of one of the ST Racing cars and laps him successfully. And here's a shot of Lucas Oil leading as usual. But 10.8, almost an 11-second gap there. So he's not been as dominant, but still up there, has pretty much led, bar the pit stops, pretty much led every single lap in terms of this race. And you really have to say that with him winning all bar, I believe 3 races so far this season, you'd think as though the championship is pretty much sewn up. Carl-Smith carries on in second. Roland has not yet pitted. The field is very, very spread out indeed. There really is no one. I have a feeling that Oil is starting to back off a bit more and just saving his tyres to get himself to the end of the stint, because he's now let the gap fall to 10.2 seconds. What's the gap now as Carl-Smith heads across the line? The split, he's down to 10.1, so I wouldn't say that's anything significant, because Oil will have to stop again, as will the front 4. They all have to stop again, as does Heasterbeek and as does Junts. And also does Redshaw as well. So, I mean, really, there's nothing really to write home about. Even though he's closing just a bit on them, that's really not going to make too much of a difference, because we know that these guys are on a 3-stop strategy, and they will have to stop, I'd say, in the next couple of laps. Now, looking at Lucas Oiler here, does he peel off into the pits? No, he doesn't. He carries on. Usually 3 or 4 will pit at the same time. Looking at Carl-Smith, and does he pit? No, he doesn't. He carries on. Next up is going to be Nick Rowland, who really is falling back quite a bit Looking at that, gap is down to 10 seconds pretty much exactly, so another tenth was taken out in those two sectors. Of course, Roland Euler will pit on the same lap. That is a given, along with the Morris, I would imagine. And Morris is just coming down towards turns 11 and 12. But Kieran Ryan in from 13th. Bit of lap down, as now we've got Tom Parker's just been lapped by James Shepherd, and Tom Parker straight on up at turn 12. And Mark Fuller just spun in front of him, so that was quite eventful. We can get a quick replay of that so we can show you that. Here we go. So Parker then. But he's lost his front wing. Parker lost his front wing, so how's that? I wonder how that's happened, but Parker's lost it. And in turn, he's had to struggle around to the pits, and he has actually darted in, so he's now in. He's dropped down to 16th. There he's currently leaving his pit box, so Mark Wicks will come around. I think he's going to go ahead of Mark Wicks, in fact I'm pretty sure he will, as Mark Wicks is only coming onto the pit straight now. I think Euler must be coming into the pits next couple of laps, because the gap is back up to 10.6 seconds, so I'd say we probably could expect a pit anytime soon. Well, 14 laps to go then, and again, things haven't really been that exciting, to be honest. It's been a rather dull Grand Prix, so apologies if it hasn't been as enjoyable as the ones previously, but I'm trying to find you some on-track action that is at least partially exciting. Can we look at OJ Clark there? He's 9 seconds off 6th place, so it's really the story of the race today. No one's really been that close to challenging the top 10, apart from some minor scuffles on the fringes of the top 10. Now then, I'm just looking quickly, keeping track on my monitor. If Euler is going to pits, and he does, so Euler in for his last stop then. And this should trigger. This should now mean that Kosith will peel off as well. And no, he carries on, so obviously he's on a slightly different strategy. Easterbeek's in the pits from 7th as well. This should also prompt Roland in. Easterbeek is in 7th, and of course I think that will now obviously relinquish his position to... In fact, Clark has moved up to 6th. Now there goes Roland into the pits now, as you're seeing. I'm expecting Morris to come in next, as there he is coming up towards turn 11. We'll stick with Roland here. Let's see. Last few stops being made, about 4 or 5 cars were coming in at once, so flurry of pit stops. And Clark on his 2 top strategies up to 6th, as is Shepherd up to 5th. And that should become 4th, as Morris should pit, as I believe he is now. Yes, he is. He's in. I'll keep an eye on James Shepherd. He's now coming round final corner, as a rejoining Wesley Morris is just out in front of him. But he sweeps past Lee Morris, and he does get up into 4th place. James Shepherd takes over 4th. And Clark, I think, is just about too far behind to try and challenge Lee Morris. But Morris does come out of the pits then, and he is back out. So that's it then. The final few stops have been made. Just a case of where everything's going to shake out. Now, in terms of a lead, well, Carl Smith is now 6 seconds ahead, and he carries on for another lap, so this is going to be interesting to see how this works out. And Euler's brought the gap down to 6.3 seconds on his first lap out of the pits. So, in all fairness, really, it's just, I think Carl Smith's trying to build up a bit more of a gap, so he's got that cushion back to 3rd place Roland, but really I don't think he really needs to make that much of a cushion, because, to be fair, he does have quite a sizable gap to him. But still he's pushing on. And there's a What's racing car on the wall there? I just spotted it on the right. That's Tom Parker. And Tom Parker's out of this Grand Prix. Now I'm going to have a quick look and see exactly what happens to Tom Parker. Let's have a look. Tom Parker, yes, we know he's out, but we're trying to see. Oh, that's why. Oh, he lost it big time. Big time through turn 7. That was trying to get the power on through turn 7, as you see here. And straight into the wall. That's the rear wing gone. And that's him out of the race. So that's rather unfortunate for the Brit. You see there Ben Warren in the pits there in your shot. Cosworth is now in. This will be his final stop, and he will relinquish the lead back once again to Lucas Euler, who is now going to come round the final corner. And you'll probably see it on your screen in a second. So Cosworth has now pitted. And there goes Euler, back in the lead. So with 11 laps to go then, he takes the lead once again. And Euler. Well, they're currently leading once again. Stories in from 12th place for Drake. And again, it's just all shaken out, just the fact that everyone really isn't that close to everyone else to challenge each other, if that makes any sense. But basically, no one's that close enough to really take any positions off each other unless there's any major mistakes that take place in the last 11 or so laps. We're about for 15th apparently, so quickly have a switch to that one. It's between David Stanton and Mark Wicks. And with another fastest lap on his second or third lap on these tyres, 1:24.221. Stanton just holding off then Mark Wicks. Not really that close as one of the ST Racing cars dives into the pits for his final stop. So down towards turn 1 they go. And whilst they're battling here, we'll quickly run down for the top 10. With 10 laps to go, is Lucas Euler, as you would expect, leading by some 11.6 seconds from Dave Carr-Smith for Green Stripe Racing in second. Nick Rowland currently sits third, then James Shepherd in fourth for Red 5 Racing ahead of Lee Morris in fifth. OJ Clark in sixth for Easterbeek seventh. David John 8th, Lewis Redshaw 9th, and Simon Cattell rounding out the top 10. And quickly running through the rest of the field. As it currently stands, we've got Anofsky 11th, Story 12th, excuse me. Kieran Ryan 13th, Mark Stanton 14th, ahead of his brother David in 15th. Mark Wicks 16th, Ben Warren 17th, Mark Fuller 18th, Jeff Mead 19th, and Wesley Morris in 20th. And Tom Parker, as you saw, was out of the race. A suspension failure and a broken rear wing as a result of an incident up at turn 7. Where he lost the back end of the car and spun into the barriers. John McClain is out. Well, he was out back on lap 16 and back on lap 4. Vinod Moodley ended his race with a DNF also. And this battle for 15th isn't really taking off all that much. It's just being nothing much going on. Although Stanton went a bit wide through turn 13. Gets it caught up for 14 though, but I have to say that Wicks isn't really that close to do anything in terms of challenge. I believe that that could be, is that Nick Rowland, I think? Yeah, Nick Rowland going through turn 1, so he's come up to lap those two. There's Lee Morris then, running in that team formation with his teammate Keith Story. Story currently has Kieran Ryan behind you, so we can quickly jump to them. And I have to apologise that there hasn't been a really more exciting race than it should have been. I really was hoping that we could bring you a a lot more entertaining and exciting race for the battles and overtaking, but it really hasn't been the case, if I'm being brutally honest. Maybe this is something that the series organisers need to have a look at in terms of a bit more parity between the teams and make it a bit more on driver skill rather than just who has the best car. The 15th apparently has closed up. Here it is. That's again taking that slightly wider line than Mark Wicks does. Wicks then look at the rear wing from David Stanton's David Stanton's car, holding off Mark Wicks as they head down towards turn 7 and 8. And that's Nick Rowland there as well, trying to lap them as there's Mark Wicks letting Nick Rowland through. Of course, the constant racing driver will have to do that as well. And there goes Mark Stanton obliging as well, letting the fast Midnight Motorsport driver through. Wicks getting closer, and closer still, but again Stanton's starting to pull away on the straight, so really it's kind of stalemate between these two with 7 laps to go. Could be the longest 7 laps ever at this rate. But still. The rear wing of your race leader. Carl Smith in second. Another good run from him this afternoon, or today rather, to hold on to where he is. And well done to James Shepherd again to get the Red 5 car up into the top 5 and run competitively. He's 7.2 seconds, you can see on the screen there, ahead of Lee Morris in 5th. There is Lee Morris, still soldiering on. But this will probably he'll be disappointed again. Not really a race that he was anticipating. He'd bet that in 5th. I'm not predicting he probably won't be too pleased with this performance. Probably maybe resigned to the fact this is as much as he can get out of the car. Probably even expecting more out of the car due to the progress the team has made on the setup in the past few days. There's OJ Clark in 6th. Up there to score some points as well. Did 7th Easterbeek. Another solid performance to grab himself another points finish. Been pretty consistent points wise. 8th is David Junt. Another points finish for him. Form's starting to pick up now. Interesting to see whereabouts Yanni Tanskin's got to, because he's not been here for the past few races. Haven't seen an announcement to see exactly where he disappeared to, but the 2010 champion been absent for the past few races. OJ Clark has stepped into the breach and taken his seat. And in 9th place we have Lewis Redshaw for Hawkeye, and 10th we have Simon Tell for Kerno Sport. There looks like a blue message on the rear wing. Let's see if we can quickly just go on the chase cam. And it's got some pit on the rear wing that you can see, so that's quite novel. Looking 11th is currently Pavel Arnowski, 12th as we're looking through his key story. Good to see both drag racing cars looking to make the finish. I probably would have liked to give himself a couple more points, but making himself 10th maybe, but just hasn't really been a race of very much attrition, to be honest. Here on Ryan, holding on in 13th, not too far away from Story. Here's Story in the foreground there, heading through turn 1. 14th there is Mark Stanton. It's battle for 15th still going on between David Stanton and Mark Wicks. Not too close together, but look at that. Stanton went a bit wide through there. Now here comes Wicks then, trying to go round the outside. Trying to force the issue, but Stanton will hold firm, and he forces Stanton to outbrake himself. And this is now going to allow Wicks to get alongside him down towards turn 11. Finally got some action here. And Wicks will now try and have a look down the inside. Will he be able to take it? Who knows? Well, here comes these two battling for 15th. And again, I mean, very defensive through the last couple of corners, but this will probably a bit of a twitch as well. Light wheel spin out of the last corner, and again, this will put him under pressure from Kono Sport car lurking behind him, but he still stays ahead through turn 1. I'm just keeping an eye on my monitor in game what's happening with Lucas Euler. He is currently coming down the back straight towards turn 12. Got there Ben Warren in 17th. Mark Fuller running 18th. There we've got Jeff Mead in 19th. 20th still running his... Oh, that's the wrong one. There's Wesley Morris still going. And that's that. So that's what we've got in terms of cars that's still running. Lucas Euler then with 3 laps to go. Another fairly easy run for him, although I'm sure in the press conference he'll tell us otherwise and say it was very difficult. It certainly looked as though it's been a walk in the park for the German once again. And Carl Smith again was impressed, showing his pace nonetheless. And again, Roland I'm surprised by Nick Roland. He hasn't really shown his pace that much. He's a whopping 26 seconds behind Dave Carl-Smith. He really has struggled this afternoon today with maybe it's handling issues, or maybe it's the fact that just that the setup's not really gone in his favour. But he really hasn't featured today. Either that or Green Stripes Racing have taken a massive leap forward in their car development, because I'm quite surprised that Roland hasn't really been able to get as much out of the car as he normally does. Not the Nick Roller we saw taking a couple of wins early on in the season, but I believe that Euler's coming across the start his penultimate lap, so we're getting almost at the end of the race. Shepard's still running 4th. Also, just slightly linked with Red 5 is the news that Gavin Thomas, the ex-team owner and driver of Red 5, had decided to leave GPVWC. It's rather unfortunate. He will be missed by the community. He decided to move on and see if he can put his talents to use a little more in another series, possibly. Will we see him back here again? Who knows? But of course, we will wish him all the best. Back to Lee Morris here in 5th. Hasn't really featured all that much. We'll check back this battle for 15th, and it's still going on strong. Markwick still hasn't got past David Stanton, but Lord knows he'll get past him. We'll die trying. And looking very close, like that gives him a nudge as well. He's starting to nudge through on the run down towards turn 5 and through turn 6. Well, it is now starting his last lap now, so he's now coming across the line. And we're on the last lap here. Stay with this battle. All the way through turn 8 they go. Wicks has the run down towards turn 9, darts out again. Putting Stanton under pressure once more. And Wicks has got a much better exit through turn 10. And down towards turn 11. Down to hold the line. Down towards turn 12. I do believe. And look at that. Oh! Wicks has gone very wide. He's gone very wide indeed. In fact, I think he's gone wide to let Shepherd through. And Stanton will have to do the same. And they come across the line. Oh, and Stanton on the grass there. That's going to let Wicks through. Almost. And that's back. We'll have to go through. We'll have to cut away from that because we do have our race leader. Down towards the last couple of corners. And really, it's as we've expected. It's really been a lights to flag victory. And no surprises. And once again in GPVWC, I find myself saying that Lucas Euler has taken the victory here in Turkey. And he wins with rather relative ease. Once again. And I doubt that anyone's going to challenge him for the championship. I think the championship is now pretty much sewn up for him. It will be his to lose. And second place to Dave Carsmith, he's certainly very happy with that. An important podium and important points for Green Stripes Racing. Third coming through will be Nick Rowland. Here he comes. Disappointingly off the pace, not quite on the same pace as Euler or Dave Carsmith. I would expect him to be a bit further up, but still, or at least closer. But Rowland comes home, and I'm sure it'll be a valuable, albeit probably disappointing third place. He'll probably would have struggled with car problems. Fourth home will be, as you see here, James Shepherd. He should be pleased with that result. Well, that's another great result for him. And that battle behind is just oh, was that? I think it was Mark Wicks off one of the background. Was that Mark Wicks? It was. Mark Wicks loses out on the final lap there as we see Lee Morris in the foreground. Quickly going back to the pits. He's obviously not pleased with that fifth place. Here comes OJ Clark then. Another strong result for Red Archer. Probably would expect him more, but he's happy with sixth. Weaves across the line. A seventh for Rude Heathspeak as he wheel spins across the line. There's a burnout, so another strong and solid points result for him. And we've seen OJ Clark, David Jones has already finished. Ninth place has already finished is, I believe, in fact David Jones hasn't finished actually, he's still going. There is Lucas Euler. And once again, the question remains, can anyone stop Lucas Euler at midnight? Because they just have dominated once again. And no one really got a look in on that one. We'll get the views of the top three in the press conference shortly, if we can. But nonetheless, as Lucas Euler pulls into the pit box, we'll give you the rundown of the results as they have finished, and it ends as follows. Lucas Euler with another victory as predicted, and if you like, as usual. 9.8 seconds ahead of Dave Carsmith in second, with Nick Rowland rounding out the podium in third place. Fourth was James Shepherd, again a strong result in the Red 5. Fifth was Lee Morris, he will be disappointed with that, but nonetheless a valiant effort. Sixth was OJ Clark for Red Archer. Seventh through Heathspeak just behind for Nijo. Eighth was David Jump for Red Archer. Ninth was Lewis Redshaw for Hawkeye, and 10th was Pavel Lanowski for Nordjern. 11th was Simon Cattell for Kano Sport. He's going to be disappointed with that as well, just outside the points. 12th was Keith Story for Drag Racing. 13th, Kieran Ryan for Woods Racing. 14th was Mark Stanton for Constant, ahead of his brother David in 15th. Monk Wicks just missed out at the end there in 16th place. Then Ben Warren 17th for Nijo. 18th was Mark Fuller, ahead of his teammate, ST Racing teammate. Jeff Mead. And then Wesley Morris was the final car to finish in this race. Retirements were Tom Parker for Woods Racing, 21st, 22nd was John McLean, and 23rd was Vinod Moodley for Hawkeye. Now then, let's have a look and see if we have the top three in the broadcast in the green room. We do indeed. Also, we have 5th place Lee Morris as well as in there as well. So we can get James Shepard in here as well. We can try and get the top 5 in here. Bit of a chat with them. Let's see if we can get them in here. But still, let's see if we can get the top 4 in here for the press conference. Let's just drag them in here now then. Apologies. In they come then. So we have, I believe, the top 5 actually in the press conference. You know, with David Junton here as well. Maybe we'll get his thoughts as well. So we have then we'll read down who we've actually got in the press conference here. We've got the top 4 or 5 drivers. We have our winner today, Lucas Euler for Midnight Motorsport. Second, we have Dave Carl Smith for Green Stripes Racing. Third, we have Nick Rold in the second Midnight car. Fourth, we have James Shepard for Red 5. Fifth, we have Lee Morris for Drag Racing. And we have David Junton in here from 8th place. So may as well start with you, Lucas. Another race, another pole position, another fastest lap, another win. It again looked, once again, all too easy.
Oh, really? This time, I really must say, I think best driver today was Dave. Because, yeah, for me, it felt quite close. It was maybe the first time in this season where I really pushed for like the first two and a half stints. It was actually quite fun. I love this track. That's what helped me pushing all the way through. So, yeah, I can't be sad with this result, right?
You've taken another step closer to the championship. I mean, with this result today, it really has to look as though it's a foregone conclusion at the moment, doesn't it?
Well, I think with Nick coming in third, I just barely take the lead. I think I was 2 or 3 points behind. I am now even or 1 point ahead. So. Still wide open. Anything can happen. I know Nick hasn't had the best race today. He suffered from some, small issues which resulted in worse lap times. But I think he can be up there again. So I won't say this is over.
Well, congratulations, Lucas. Well done on the victory. Second, Dave Carl Smith. Dave, you had your first win here, as you pointed out on the chat in the monitor. Your first win here in FSR. You come second here for GPVWC. Looks as though you were the one that was the closest driver to challenge Lucas this afternoon, or in today's race. Just talk us through your race from your point of view today.
From my point of view, it was a little bit boring. I didn't have anything for Lucas. I was pushing as much as I could, and I pretty much believe he was just cruising. And once Nick had his issues, I was just on my own. So. Yeah, the car worked well. Whatever they did to the setup, Nick and Lucas, it worked brilliantly for this track. So, thanks to them.
And another strong show from myself, Dave, and another podium for Green Stripes. So, are you confident that with the continuous results up in the podium, that Green Stripes can progress even further this season?
It'll be tough. Well, Lucas is obviously on great form, and I don't expect it'll be long before Lee's back up there. So. It'll be tough to go any better, but hopefully we can get a few more podiums.
Well done, Dave. Another strong race from yourself today. Third, let's go to Nick. Nick, today you had in all fairness, a rather uneventful race today, but looks like most of that was down to some problems you had in your part. Just talk us through what went wrong today.
Yeah, well, I feel very strange with this race. It was one hand brilliant to get another podium, but on the other hand, I had no pace. Qualifying actually worked. It kind of counteracted this race, where qualifying actually was half decent for once, which was quite nice. But also, I then had to go back on the grid to 7th, and I couldn't believe the start I got off the line. It was just unbelievable to go from 7th to 3rd by turn 1. And from that point, I was trying to understand. I couldn't really keep pace on the very first lap with Dave and Lucas, and I was thinking, what's going on? And I pushed the car harder and harder because I couldn't heat up the tyres. Eventually, got them up to some sort of operating temperature, and still I was getting understeer. And I don't know why. The front of the car just felt really, really heavy and just continuous understeer. I'm gonna have to go and look at it, or look at something with the front of my car, because that was really, really hard to drive. I'm still a little bit shocked that I've even been able to take 3rd place, because my pace was horrendous compared to what I was doing in practice. So, on one hand, I'm very happy with 3rd. I'm so pleased for Lucas and Dave, but I've completely confused and baffled what happened to my race pace.
Are you confident that the problems you experienced today will be sorted by the next race coming up this season?
I really do hope so, because my race pace has usually been my stronger point rather than my qualifying. It seems to be roles reversed today, so if I can try and balance the two off and get both working, then it would be great. But at the moment, in this particular race, it hasn't quite worked. But looking forwards, I want to keep positive and keep pushing forwards. I think me and Lucas are pretty much neck and neck now in terms of the title, and I'm sure Lee will be back challenging us with very, very soon. So for me at the moment, today just didn't work out, but I'm just so pleased for Lucas and Dave.
Well done. I'm good effort from Nick today. Let's grab a word with our drivers who came 4th and 5th, starting with James Shepherd in 4th. James, you find yourself just on the fringe to get another podium, but you have to admit another strong showing from yourself to grab 4th place in what's only your 2nd race with your new team.
Yeah, qualifying, I was about a tenth slower than my best, so I can be happy with that. Again, going with the prime tyres, I just can't get the options to work. They either overheat or they underheat, so I'm a bit puzzled as to why I can't do that, but not a problem obviously, we're scoring good positions. Nothing higher than 4th was possible today. And in the first stint, I could see that I could hold pace with Lee. I didn't know what strategy he was on, and I assumed that he was actually on the primes as well and 2 stopping. So I stayed with him as best I could, and then I managed to get past him early on, and it just sort of became apparent driving around him that his car setup was more of a bit of a counter-attack setup where he's much faster on the straights. I couldn't get close to him on the back straight. But in turn 1, he was so slow. I nearly hit the back of him about 4 or 5 times coming to the braking zone, and I had to lift, and in the slower corners I was lifting a lot. So I was so happy to get past him. And then after that, it was just a matter of controlling the rear tyres and making sure they didn't go off. And yeah, just maintaining the gap, and that was about all we did. At the end, I went for a shorter stint, and I saved my tyres at the start. I was doing 27s, I think, so I was looking after the car just in case Lee had something to attack at the end. And when I saw that we were holding the gap at about 7 or 8 seconds, I thought I'll just go for it and see what I can do, and managed to get my fastest lap on the very final lap of the race. So the car was good, the balance was good, the tyres lasted better than I expected, and yeah, 4th, it's good position, a lot of points, so well happy with that.
Obviously, it was you and yourself and OJ were the only ones on a 2-stop strategy day. You managed to make that work with a 4th place. Do you think that if you're able to continue grabbing 3rds and 4ths for the rest of the season, would you be content with that, or would you still be pushing for more this season?
I have a sneaking suspicion that in rounds like Spa and Italy, we're going to be a lot stronger, simply because of the way the upgrade systems on the car works. Midnight, I think, you're going to lose a lot of top-end speed, so at Monza we might be a bit quicker. And absolutely, I'm going to go for a win, of course, if I think that I've got the chance to. But at the moment, in this style of track, this is the best we can do. So yeah, we just have to see how the upgrades on the cars work out, and the style of track that we're racing at.
Well, congratulations, James. Well done for 4th place today. Another solid effort from yourself. Let's go a quick word with 5th place Lee Morris. Lee, I can probably obviously tell this is not probably the race that you hoping to have. But just talk about it from your point of view. Obviously, you're probably hoping for a podium, but just couldn't put it off today.
Well, after testing, I really believed that we could get up there and challenge for a second or a third. The car was perfect, absolutely perfect. Me and Keith, and I really got to thank Keith for this week as well, because we've done a superb job with car, with what we have, and it was perfect all race. I was really happy with the car. I know Keith had a few issues, but he drove the wheels off it as well, and he came on 12th. But early on in the race, I was battling with James a bit. I say battling, I couldn't really battle with him because his lag was huge. Obviously that's probably from being from Australia as such, so that's not really his fault. But the lag was huge, and eventually I just had to let him go because I couldn't risk it. Every time he was behind me, he was tapping me up the rear. I don't think he knew, but he was tapping my car out the rear all the time. He didn't do any damage, but it nearly caused me to spin a couple of times. Then he got ahead, and I tried to pass him again, but no, I could do because of lag. So eventually he got away. And then from there on, it was just like, what's going on? I was actually going faster than my testing pace by a couple of tenths, which I thought was really good. And I'm getting beat by 1 minute by cars that are just unbelievable. I mean, I just don't understand. I really want our cars checking, and I've already spoke to a few people. I want our cars performance checking, because I think something really dirty is going on. And I wasn't going to say this last race, but that's why I didn't come for an interview. But I'm really not happy with this, because I don't finish 1 minute behind in this car. I mean, Dave's got an equal car to me, and he beats me by 1 minute. I really don't think something's fair play here, to be honest. And it's just strange how all of them are in the same challenger in the race. They're all driving for the same team effectively. So basically today you had a midnight 1-4, and I'm just not happy with it at all.
Interesting point, and I just something I want to raise, possibly if all the drivers pay more to chip in with something here. Question wanted to raise that, based on today's race, which I have to admit personally for myself was a rather uneventful race to commentate to report on and to run through. Do you think something could possibly be done to improve it, kind of bring a bit more parity in terms of the field and make the race a bit more exciting? Or do you think it's possibly something that will have to be left until 2012? And if anyone the question's open to anyone, so if anyone wants to chip in with a comment on that one.
Yeah, I'll chip. But the best thing they could do is sort the admin system out, because it's complete farce at the moment. We're 2 weeks behind on admin stuff. I mean, I know it's not everyone's fault as such, but we're 2 weeks behind. We can't upgrade our car or anything. It's just strange, how we start to close the gap, and all of a sudden our car can't have any more upgrades because people are too busy and so on. We have to constantly ask for our upgrades to be put on the car, which shouldn't happen. We have to chase up for our upgrades to be put on the car, which is a complete farce as well. We have to wait 3 or 4 days sometimes for the upgrades to come through, even though we've paid for a specific date for them to come through. I can accept 1 or 2 days, but sometimes it's a week, and it's ridiculous. And that's what they need to sort out, basically, because at the moment it's just not fair racing. I mean, I can accept that they've got a faster car and they've done a better job as a team to do that, but at the moment I don't understand now, compared to round 1, we're actually closer in upgrades now, but yet we're further off. I finished further off today than I did in all the first races. I mean, I nearly got lapped, for God's sake. It's absolute farce.
In terms of the car performances, I don't really know the differences of what could be done now until next season. I know Lee's spoken about troubles with his engine in particular, so I don't think there's any in terms of parity of that, and then cars upgrade